Everybody knows that a lender is supposed to get you the best rate, but is there something else that a lender gives a buyer other than cheap money? So I'm here with Derrick Evans, and we're going to talk a bit, and he's going to talk a bit about what a buyer should be looking for in their lender. And I'm just going to preface it by saying, from the real estate agent's perspective, having a lender from the start to finish, it starts with a lender who's strong enough to get an offer accepted, and then it finishes with a lender who brings it across the finish line to not only close, but to make sure that the buyer doesn't lose any earnest money. So Derrick, you specialize in this.
Yeah.
Tell us about what a buyer should be looking for from a lender.
Yeah, well, I mean, rate is obviously important for everyone. And so I think it's important to always look at rate and costs. So specifically for me, I believe that the buyer should choose if they're going to pay any costs. So we don't charge any fees or any points or anything like that. Some banks will do that, and they'll say, yeah, that's so that we can have lower rates. Well, let the buyer decide if they want to buy the rate down, you know, as opposed to that. So when you get quotes from different lenders, just make sure you're always asking for the same rate and fee structure. So if you're getting a no fee quote from one lender, make sure you get a no fee quote from another lender, so you're really comparing apples to apples. Because if you go online and look for the best rate at thisbestrate.com or whatever, you're going to see quotes that all have lots of points and fees associated with them.
Okay. I take it they probably put the lowest rate in there, and then the fees are talked about later.
Correct.
Okay.
So that's a big thing to watch out for when you're shopping for a lender.
Okay.
I think most importantly besides that is accessibility. You know, one thing about this business is 7-day-a-week business. It's really a weekend business.
Absolutely.
You know?
Saturday nights, Friday nights, Sunday mornings, all those odd times, right?
That's when you're needed.
Yes.
So, you know, test your lender out. Should they be available 24/7? No, that's not realistic. But if you do reach out to them on the weekend, do they get back to you? Do they tell you what the schedule is? Hey, I can talk in 4 hours. Do they at least let you know? You know, are they communicating with you? I think that's something that's really, really crucial, because at some point you're going to need them. And it's okay if they have something else going on, but if they are able to communicate that with you, whether it's through an automated message or just through a quick reply, I think that's crucial for most buyers. They'll find that out the hard way in a lot of cases, where they go, boy, I really need to ask the bank a question, but it's Saturday at 2 p.m., so I'm not going to hear from anyone until at least Monday morning.
Right.
And it's probably too late by then.
And on that note, when you have a client who's putting an offer on a house, and it's a weekend, and the offer's gone in, and the listing agent is trying to assess, okay, who is this buyer? How does that piece work from the lender's side?
Yeah, very, very big deal for listing agents to hear from the lender and to feel good about it. So the lender should reach out shortly after the offer is submitted. Hopefully they're CC'd on it. They can reach out to the listing agent and say, all right, here's the bullet points for this buyer, why they're good, why they should be of high consideration for you. Explain what the selling points are. What are the good things that we have? Lots of reserves, low DTI, great credit score, whatever it is, or all of it. And talk about why you feel so confident about it. Talk about how you reviewed everything. To communicate that quickly and effectively. And that's one of the main reasons to answer the phone over the weekend if you're a lender, is actually because you get listing agents who are getting these offers and they're just rifling through. They're just calling one lender after the other. So you need to answer that call.
Right.
Or they're going to the next one. It's just that simple.
Right.
Especially when you have 20, 30 offers like we have in this market. So it's just a situation where you have to be available to at least respond to these people and give them an opportunity. And I just had that happen, in fact, this weekend, and the offer got accepted today.
Okay.
So it shows you that I answered the phone, and when I answered the phone, she said, okay, here's the deal. I've got all this stuff in front of me. It's like, I know you're probably really busy with all these offers. We talked about the deal, and we got into escrow a couple days later. So yeah, if I'd waited to call her back until Monday morning, I think it's very unlikely that we're in the same position.
Right. It's fresh on her mind. She's going through and probably trying to find one that connects, right? She's looking at that moment. She makes a connection with you at that moment, and now it's a package deal.
Yeah.
This one passes.
So exactly. That's what happened.
Now, what do you think about some of these big box lenders? Like, I have a lot of people say to me, oh, I'm shopping around trying to find what the best rate is, and they're looking at, Quicken Loans or those companies. What do you think?
Nothing wrong with them. They're fine. You know, I think it's just a matter of what you want from the experience and who you want to work with. I think it's unlikely. First of all, I'll put my rates against anybody because I'm a broker. So I have wholesale pricing and no fees, and I'll put my rates against anybody. But aside from that, let's say we're equal on that. How do I compete with those guys? first of all, accessibility is always the big one. And then second of all is relationship. It's very unlikely that the person at the, you name this big box mortgage company call center, has relationships with realtors in the San Diego marketplace. It's very unlikely. However, I have dozens and dozens and dozens of them, people I've known for 10 years, 15 years, where we've had interactions before. People know my character. They trust me as someone who is professional, and they'll listen to what I have to say. That's kind of hard to compete with, you know. So it's be very difficult for one of those individuals to be able to outperform me in any way, and almost impossible for them to beat me on rate and terms. So that's how I've sort of structured, you know, my mortgage business, is to be the absolute best possible thing for the client. That's my entire focus.
Okay. So I'm picturing this. There's a listing agent, and they're trying to decide between unknown buyers and unknown lenders. And as they're going through, they see a name that they've worked with in the past on a past transaction that's gone well, and they perhaps know you. And when they give a call, it's like, okay, I know this person. This person has done a good job on a prior transaction, and now you're several legs up, right, on unknown lenders where could be the first time, could be a credit union, could be a great rate, but perhaps it's a little trickier in terms of being able to speak to the qualifications of the buyer.
Yeah, or just they can't get a hold of them. You know, listing agent calls the credit union, they give them one shot. They get into some 800 number loop or some automated messaging system. It's not going anywhere. So that part I think is definitely important. And I've had plenty of situations where I don't know the listing agent at all.
Okay.
And I have to earn my respect just like everyone else does. And that's where the communication, the thoroughness, sending them DU, sending them, you know, a full picture that we're committed to this property. You know, this property is the one that we have our eye on. We really want this one. I think that goes a long way. But at the end of the day, you know, people will choose who they want to work with based on what's important to them. And so for some people, they may say, well, I want to work with my credit union because I know them, and I trust them, and they have all my money, and they have all my information, and I feel good about that. And it's possible you could miss out on opportunities as a result of that. It's possible. It's also possible that it could work out for you. It's possible. I just know that it will be hard to, on a apples-to-apples comparison, to compete with what we bring to the table. But to your point, sometimes the advantage of knowing the listing agent could just be to find out that we have no chance, which has happened sometimes in this market, you know, where, oh, hey, I know this listing agent, buyer sends me property, we really like this one. Oh, well, I know him, let me text him, he's one of my buddies. Text him, hey, this is where we're, you know, max approved. Do we have it shot? You have no shot. Okay, I can kill that for them early. They don't have to go through
the reality in this,
the process.
In this market.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So sometimes information is powerful to allow people to move on just as much as just to move in.
Okay. Okay. Now, how about the transactions moving along, and sometimes things will come up. One of the things is there's an appraisal, and in this market, things are changing so quickly that sometimes it's tough to get that appraisal nailed down, and sometimes there's a need to get it nailed down kind of quickly. Are there some special things that a buyer should be looking for to make sure that their appraisal gets done in a timely and accurate manner?
You know, the buyer doesn't have too much role in it, honestly. Now, in conventional loans, most banks want them to sign disclosures, so we tell them right away, hey, we're going to have disclosures sent to you today. Please sign them so we can order the appraisal day one. So they, as long as they do that, which is very simple, it's DocuSign, so it's not anything crazy. That's the only thing. With VA, with FHA, you don't really need to do that. We can order the appraisal VA before disclosures. That's something that's done through the VA portal, so it's a separate process, not done through the bank or an AMC.
Okay.
So for those situations, the appraisal can be ordered very quickly, and that's really all you can do. There isn't much else you can do. You have to hope that the listing agent, you know, communicates and schedules quickly with the appraiser. That you don't know what the appraiser's schedule is going to be. How far booked out are they? So those things you can't really do much about. I always ask the listing agent to just let me know once the inspection's been done by the appraiser, so that we can then follow up. So that's one thing that we can do, is we can follow up to say, when are we expecting to have this report back by?
Okay.
Not that it hurries things along necessarily, but we hope that it does. Okay. Let them know that, hey, we're the squeaky wheel over here. We kind of want to get that appraisal back soon.
Okay.
So we try to have very normal follow-up, not hectic, not the sky is falling, but just, hey, we'd love to, you know, find out what the ETA is on this particular report. If you're having any trouble, let us know. That kind of thing. So we try to keep it cool with the appraiser. You know, you want the appraiser to be your friend. You don't want an appraiser to come after you. So we want to keep it cordial. But yeah, there's not a whole lot you can do to speed the process up other than just be on top of your paperwork.
Okay. Now, how about the piece where some buyers, in this market will purchase and the seller says, hey, I want to stay in the house for 30 or 60 days afterwards. And some lenders are okay with that, some lenders aren't. How do you help people to sort that problem out?
Yeah. So you technically, if you're buying a house as your primary residence, that's the real key. Then you need to occupy the property by the 60th day from funding. So that's why you see a lot of 59-day rentbacks, because on the 60th day you need to occupy. That said, legally, I don't know. Maybe there's a way you could, outside of the transaction, create an agreement between one another, but I just know from a loan standpoint, that's what the loan documents say, that's what you're agreeing to. So that's why you see that a lot, 59-day rentbacks, which have been mostly free.
Okay.
Remember when rentbacks used to cost money?
Yeah, the word rent, it was nice.
Not a free back, it was a rentback.
Yeah. Okay, and then also a number of buyers are trying to purchase at the same time that they're trying to sell. And that seems like it can go in several different ways. I mean, the clearest case is they have plenty of money and it's very obvious that they can qualify. And sometimes there's this kind of gray area where they kind of qualify and maybe they can move from one to the other. Maybe there's a special circumstance that can allow them to have their existing home, buy the new one, and a month or two later sell their old home. How do you see that process working out?
Yeah, I mean, for most people, if you, well, first of all, if you can qualify for both loans, then you don't have much to worry about, right? You can just go ahead and move forward, proceed. But that's not going to be the case for most people. Most people, you're going to need to sell this home in order to purchase or rent it out, one of the two. And so you can run both transactions simultaneously, but this one just needs to close. Your sale needs to close before your purchase, that's all. And it could be the day before or 2 days before, or it could be a week, or it could be a month before. I've seen a lot of buyers, and I usually coach buyers to ask their agents about this, although most agents are doing this now, so it's not as necessary for me to coach it, but just to ask about, getting that free rent back, that free back on your sale, so you have a little extra time, so you have the money in hand, so you can write offers that aren't contingent. That seems to be the best way to go about it in this market, is to get your sale completed, have a couple of months rent-free,
and then start shopping.
And start shopping there and being very aggressive with cash on hand, and no contingencies. That, just because of the nature of this market, seems to be the best way to go. A lot of people were writing contingent offers for a long time and just struggling with it. It's like, what do we do different? Well, make them non-contingent.
Yes. It sounds like waiting until it closes and then just going in then with enough cash to make it work.
Yeah, then you've got the proceeds, because that's good news about property values being up. You've got lots of proceeds. So now you can waive appraisal comfortably, you can do different things like that, put more money down, no contingencies, you look a lot better to the sellers out there today.
Okay. And then another question I get asked is, oftentimes a buyer will be purchasing and it's going to close in 30 days, and up until day 21 they have a loan contingency. So if something went sideways, they, for example, they lost their job, they can back out and get their earnest money back. But there's this gray period between days 21 and day 30, which is the loan contingency has been released, so you can't back out that way, and you've got these 9 days of any special thing that a lender can do to try to make that period feel safer for a buyer going into it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think as long as their employment is safe, that's the main thing. Fortunately, I have not seen anything like that happen since COVID. And that, of course, was kind of happening a lot, which is a crazy, crazy ordeal.
Yeah.
But post-COVID, or really post the initial brunt of it, I haven't seen that happen, which is great.
Okay.
But it can happen, and people can get laid off at any time. So I think maybe the smartest thing to do, if you're worried about it, if you're concerned that, hey, I kind of feel like they're letting people go, or maybe there's reorganizing happening, go talk to your bosses. And just tell them what you're doing. Don't tell them you're afraid of being fired or being let go or laid off or whatever. Just say, hey, I just want you to know I'm buying a house, so they're going to call you. We've already released our contingencies. Someone's going to call and verify my employment at some point. Just wanted you guys to be aware of that, because we need it to buy the house.
Right.
I mean, it's a smart thing to do.
Right.
Because I think in a situation where people were choosing someone to lay off or when to do it and whatnot, if they knew that, they would probably make one decision, versus if they didn't know that, they would make another. So if you want to protect yourself, that's probably the smartest thing you can do, is to just communicate with the people who are in charge of that decision that could hurt you potentially.
Are there other things besides being laid off that could happen between day 21 and day 30 that perhaps other lenders that aren't paying attention don't catch?
Yeah.
And a lender who's more proactive is like, hey, let's get all these things, all these check boxes checked early, so everything's dialed in up to day 21. And then the only piece left is that piece of, if their job was to change, which they can.
That is all that should be left at that point.
Okay.
Everything should be fully vetted before that.
Okay.
When you're removing those contingencies, you're removing because you've fully vetted everything. Should be. The only other thing that could really happen that I've heard of and haven't seen much of is a collection comes out of nowhere. A collector.
Oh, and for past bills.
Yeah. And they say, hey, we're going to slap this on your credit report, and so forth. Now, fortunately, by then you should already have your credit report run, and that credit report should be good through your closing date, so it shouldn't be necessary to repull credit.
Okay.
But occasionally, those people can come in hard and fast. Bill collectors, attorneys, they can be aggressive. It's so rare. I've never seen it personally, and I've only heard of it happening in a couple of instances where it was really overdue and should have probably happened before. So I don't think there's much you can do other than just protect your job and avoid doing anything silly. Buying
a car in the last 2 weeks before.
Don't do something like that.
Okay.
Okay. Don't buy anything else.
Okay.
Just hold off. And thankfully, people are smart enough to ask these days. So I get that question like, hey, we're talking about going and buying a new mattress, or we're talking about buying furniture. Should we put that on our credit card? Should we wait?
Right.
The answer for me is always going to be wait.
Right.
Just don't chance it.
Don't tempt fate.
Just don't chance it. Okay. Everything looks great. Let's keep it that way.
Okay. Okay. Well, any last tips you have for buyers?
I think the best thing you can do is communicate frequently. Communicate the questions that you have to your lender. Communicate the things that you want and need from your home to your realtor, and make sure that you're working together as a team. There's no reason we're all wearing the same color jersey. So make sure everybody's on the same page. I think it's great to have a group text with your lender and your agent, so everybody's in the know about everything that's going on, and just be okay with asking questions. Be okay with asking for payment estimates on properties, even if it's on the weekend. Listen, you don't have to beat people over that. You can say, hey, no rush, but here's something I want information on. Ask for information. You deserve that. It's a part of the process. Your service providers should give it to you. So never hesitate to ask for help or ask questions along the way.
Well, great. Well, I hope this has been helpful. If you're a buyer, you just learned a whole bunch about what you should look for when you look for a lender. And thank you so much, Derrick, for coming in.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely, brother. Good to see you.